welcome everybody to episode 13 of the Isle of Manx Sport podcast. Straight off the back of our Sports Award winners episode with Joe Reid and Yaz Ingham, we now are flipping over to a more coaching themed discussion today. So today we're very lucky to have the one and only Sam Caine is come and speak with us. Sam is currently a Community Sports Development Officer with Manx Sport and Recreation. Is that right, Sam?
That's correct.
Your official title?
That is the official title.
Excellent. People may or may not be interested to know that's a job I used to sit in myself at one point, and I've certainly handed the mantle over to a fantastic guy who's more than filled my boots for sure.
Thanks. Cheers, Joe.
Yeah. So
big pair of shoes you wear though.
Well, I think
I quite fit them.
So today we're going to have a talk about Sam's background in sport and sort of how he's got into working in sport. And some of the projects that he's got coming up as well, which might be of interest to a lot of our listeners, and maybe some of our listeners, young people who belong to them as well. So your sort of teenage children who might be looking at getting into sort of coaching themselves. But first of all, Sam, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Sort of what's your background in sport? How did you get into working in sport as well?
I started at 16. I started straight away at 16. I was playing football at Union Mills, and just from playing, one of the junior coaches had asked me if I wanted to just come down and help, and thought I might have a good eye for it. And from there I went and did my level 1 in coaching football, and was doing sort of volunteering up at Union Mills, and then I applied to be a casual coach down here at Manx Sport and Recreation, it was a great start, and I was kind of thrust into junior football with the football club, and having to manage a group of kids for training and games. I then being down here, being at the NSC, I was working with some people who are PE teachers now in some of the high schools, and some coaches from different sports, and I think it really sort of helped me develop as a coach really early on. I got a load of sort of adaptable skills across sports and in sports coaching, so I think I had a pretty good start.
Excellent. I mean, going back to your early days, did you have any? Were you thrown at the deep end at Union Mills, or did you have some older coaches who were sort of like mentoring you or giving you a bit of guidance or anything?
Yeah,
like that?
I had one guy, Derek, who was actually the first team manager at the time, and he was taking under 11s, and he, as I'd obviously turned 16 and started playing senior football myself, I played under him, and then just went to help him out, and so he was there for a year. Me just helping him out, and then after that he stopped. I think, like I say, he might have been looking for a replacement, and then I took on the under 11s from there for about 3 or 4 years afterwards.
Excellent. How did you find that experience coaching under 11s?
I really loved it. The strange thing for me now is, over the last couple of years, that all those kids that I was teaching under 11s are now sort of 18, 19, 20, and I've all started playing football sort of with me and in and around me at different clubs. So it's been quite nice to see.
Excellent.
See the back of that, yeah.
Super. And in terms of you mentioned you had some people who've gone out to work in sport in schools and so on and so forth. Who have your sort of key influences been over the years that have sort of helped, I suppose, help you adapt the coaching philosophy that you've got and the outlook that you have on coaching?
I wouldn't say like anyone sort of guided me in the way of a philosophy or anything like that. I've just picked up different things from different coaches and how they work, and sort of mannerisms and behaviours and stuff like that work for them. It's quite fortunate to be straight in and around Joe Richardson, who's head at Oncombe Primary, Craig Hardy, who's a Ballacamine PE teacher, Kirsty Cooper, who's my colleague now. She was coaching at the time as well, and I had a really great start with just sort of learning and listening to how they led and how they delivered and yeah, it was just a lot of trial and error of whether or not it worked for me, which was great. And then I almost had that extra opportunity to try it all because I had my under 11s, and I had them on my own, and that was sort of that was sort of giving me the confidence to lead and to develop quite quickly, I think.
Excellent. So where did it move on to for you then, in terms from the under 11s, and what sort of coaching are you getting up to now? Outside of, I suppose, the work scenario.
Yeah, so I kind of, the work scenario is what I suppose kind of propelled me to where I am now. I ended up picking up level 1s in different sports, badmintons and netball and cricket and all those things. And then from under 11s, I stopped and then concentrated on myself for I think 2 years, and just I actually moved football club, and just was coaching down here at work, and then over the sort of last 8 to 10 years or so, I've coached at the Development Centre for the Ellan Vannin FA. I've done under 14s, I've done under 16s, I've done under 18s girls. I was doing some coaching year before last with Douglas Royal ladies, and then helping out Brian Cowan with the Isle of Man ladies. Not coaching sort of at my club, which was St George's, and I'm now back at Union Mills. And yeah, just sort of focusing on those elite groups and delving into I suppose being able to adapt in my coaching across different age groups.
Mm-hmm. So you've got quite a broad experience, then, haven't you? Different levels, different age groups, different genders.
Yeah.
And do you find you have to adapt your approach with each of those groups? Much?
Yeah. You always find that anything under 11 is please and thank you, and everything at sort of 16 plus is, might come with a curse word or two. But it's always good fun, and it's nice learning how to adapt to that group and find out what's best for them and how they learn and how they want to develop and how they want to improve. It's nice to find out.
What are your thoughts on the role of the coach? I mean, something I think of the role of the coach, you're almost a guardian of sport, and you're sort of you're one of the key people who within sport that have a massive impact on whether other people get into it and stay in that sport and enjoy it and have a positive experience. And so what are your thoughts on that role of a coach?
It's a hard one. Like I say, you always hear that the role of a coach isn't just that of a coach. It's an administrator. It's a first aider. Mm-hmm. It's you've got to work with colleagues, and the role of a coach for me is just about being adaptable to all situations and to different personalities that you might work with, and trying to find the best way of helping them to improve, but also you to improve as well. And it's I find communication skills are really important. Mm-hmm. And even trying to do some coach education like we're currently doing here between coaches is also really important. And I just find that being as adaptable as you can be is probably the greatest strength you need to have as a coach. Yeah,
there's a lot more than just the X's and O's of practice design. It's a lot more social,
technical,
emotional,
tactical, social. Yeah. And something that came out that resonated quite well with me was the four corner model at the FA, and looking at players in all those different corners.
Yeah.
And even with coaching as well, and making sure that they're thinking about that, and not just, like you said, the X's and O's and here's a game and here's how you play it.
Yeah.
It's important that you can maybe help the participants develop some leadership skills. You can help them think about the reactions that some players might have in a game. If they get upset or if they get really excited, how do you manage those situations? There's a lot to think about.
Excellent. So you just alluded to the four corner model there. Do you want to just give a quick summary on that for our listeners?
It depends on how you use it. You can use it to look at your players in your group physically, so how they physically develop, or even is that to do with how much physical effort is there in a session. socially, do they have chance to speak to the coaches? Do they have chance to speak to each other? Is there time in game and outside where they get a chance to talk to each other and be social? We look at them psychologically, so things like decision making, or it could be behaviour and mood and things like that you can look at and try and manage within your session. And then you've got your technical and sort of tactical skills that they might be learning. Are they learning that in their session, or have you avoided that and you're just doing something fun? But I'm sure every coaching session you'll get something out of it.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thanks for giving us a little bit of background.
No worries.
So I think moving forwards now, I mean, how is your sort of coaching journey taking you from being a part-time sort of coach for sports schemes right through to the job that you do now? So what has been the stepping stones along the way?
So I think I've had a couple of strange stepping stones, to be honest. I started, like I say, I started at 16, and then I kind of didn't do anything with my coaching. I just spent a lot of time doing it, and I only had my level 1 football to start with. And then it was after about 4 or 5 years, I think I picked up my second, and then my third, and then my fourth, and then I started doing more and more, in the FA Youth Awards and things like that. And I actually ended up I was studying computer science at the Ellan Vannin College. So I didn't go down a sort of sports degree route, and I ended up picking up my computer science degree. And literally just as I'd finished that, I'd had a conversation. While I was studying, I was still a casual coach and volunteering in football. There was an opportunity to come up here to be a community coach, and to go into the primary schools and deliver the primary school sports program to those schools. And it was schools that were struggling to participate, were having trouble putting clubs on and things like that, and it was trying to get them involved and to take part more. And yeah, I got offered that job off the back of my coaching qualifications, just to come in and do that. And then I did that for a good sort of 7 or 8 years, and it was nice because I watched that program grow from us having sort of 6 or 7 schools to I think we're around about 21 or 22, and we have 6 or 7 full-time and part-time staff that go and deliver that entire program. So that was really, really good. And then I think after that I applied for your role. I think, did you move on, or?
I'd left athletics development and moved on to coaching coordinator with Manx Sport. Yeah. So. Yeah.
And you were running the referral program, and I remember applying for that. But it wasn't sort of sports degree specific. It was needing a degree to do that, and I had my computer science degree, and I had a wealth of coaching experience, and I remember getting that, and that was part-time, so I was doing that part-time and then coaching part-time, and then I was fortunate enough that there's somebody else had moved roles, and I'd got a part-time role delivering the sports leaders program, and ended up with a full-time sort of community sports development officer role, which I've loved ever since, and again a much bigger step with leading and developing programs, and all the joy of the paperwork that comes with them, because I know that some coaches despise paperwork, some love it. I sit on the fence with that.
Yeah. And here you are now. So how long have you been doing that role now, Sam?
I think I'm 3.5 years in, 4 years in. So somewhere around there. But yeah, it's been a big eye opener from what I thought was, like I say, just coaching originally to where I am now.
Excellent. So you're in that role. One of the major parts of that role is obviously what we're going to talk about today in more detail is the Sports Leaders Programme.
Yeah.
Can you give us a bit of background into that programme, sort of how it works, what it does? And
so we found out it's about 10 years old now, and it was originally set up for Year 11 students to, if they were interested and they were already taking part in sport, to start on the coaching route, on their coaching journey, essentially what I started on. So the aim of the programme is to sort of help them to become competent coaches, to give back in their sport and get into coaching those younger athletes, which they were at one time as well. I think somebody said to me one day, coaching the younger participants is a young person's game. I think as you go through the age groups and you get a little older yourself, I think you start to understand the different age groups and sort of what's required to sort of help them develop. So we're just encouraging them to start at very basic grassroots level, sort of, anything sort of primary school age under 11. So you primary school's 4 to 11 years old. And that program and what we offer is we have a full training week which starts again this year. We're lucky that we can offer it considering the current pandemic and everything got put on hold. But we have our sports leaders week of training taking place on the 20th of July, and that is an introduction into coaching. So they will do some professional courses. They'll do a safeguarding protecting children course, which you offer out to public and other coaches. We offer them a first aid course, and also we DBS check them, and that's the minimum that they have to do in order to start volunteering and coaching and across a lot of sports on the island. The extras we do on that week are around sort of session planning, and plan, do, review is that big sort of model that we give to those that sign up. We have a session planning workshop. We then have workshops based around sort of configuration. So how is your session laid out? What's involved in a session? So having that plan, how are you going to use that plan? We then go into communication. So how are you going to communicate with the participants in your group? How are you going to communicate with the coaches? How are you going to communicate to them? Are you going to use things like question and answer, or are you going to give them a scenario and let them find out for themselves, or that sort of thing? Sort of we look at game creation as well. So for example, one of those classic games that was made up years and years ago, I don't know if anyone knows when it was made, but Stuck in the Mud. So how did that come about? And actually, can you make your own games, or can you adapt those games in order to sort of give the participants a chance to learn something new, or to maybe improve their decision making, whatever it might be. And we then get into sort of coaching points. So how do you deliver coaching points? When to intervene? Do you do it while the game's going on? Do you do it when the game's stopped? Do you grab groups? Do you do it individually? All those sorts of things. And then we do a lot on like collaboration. I think it's one of the last workshops that we do. And again, just how you work together. So while I might be leading, and if you were helping me out, you might be looking at maybe a group of copers, and you might be trying to challenge them, or if anyone's struggling, can you give them a challenge, try and help them out, or give them another demonstration? Or so there's a lot that goes into that week to sort of get them started in coaching, and we decided to do it that way instead of going directly down a sports route, because we were finding that doing all those fun games and movements and being able to manage all that's great, and then if they want to learn more and they want to go off into the community to deliver that, actually that's the point when they would go and speak to their sport, and maybe after our program go and do a level 1 in coaching somewhere, and that'll give them all that technical and tactical knowledge that they might not get from us, but that what they potentially will get is a lot of sort of social and psychological, and being able to manage sort of decision making and how you talk to the participants, which is great. And then after that sports leaders week, we then go into a mentoring phase. So with all our casual coaches, like I said, I went through that route first. Those sports leaders will come and work on our schemes and get sort of first-hand experience of what those casual coaches are delivering, and get a chance to work with them and get ideas from them. And like I was saying before, me watching other coaches, I picked up a lot from there. So I mean, hopefully they'll do the same thing with those coaches. And obviously we've got our community coaches as well, who are full-time and part-time, and some of them have got like level 2s and level 3s in certain sports. So there's a lot to learn, isn't it, from those other people. So they'll do some mentoring, and after that it's into sort of a volunteer phase, and that goes from sort of September to April time, where they can volunteer with us on our holiday programs each half term, or they can just volunteer in the community. So if they're at a football club like Union Mills, for example, they could volunteer on a Saturday morning, help out the juniors and things like that. So I like to think it's a nice, well-rounded program, and there's lots of chance for CPD and learning, and I think it's a really great start into coaching, and something I definitely wish I had.
Absolutely. It sounds fantastic, and it sounds great, especially that there's a lot of support, and you're not just thrown in the deep end. You're given almost effectively a coach's toolkit of ideas and principles to help deliver your sessions effectively for mixed ability groups. And and the fact that there's mentoring there, and you get the chance to actually sit down after a session and sort of discuss it with a mentor, and look at your strengths and weaknesses and where your development areas are. Sorry, rather, I wouldn't say weaknesses really. No. Your development areas is a fantastic way of growing as a coach and giving you that confidence moving forward.
Definitely, but as well, any of these sports leaders may come up with something that really works for them, and they might deliver something in front of one of their coach mentors, and one of their coach mentors might want to pick that up, and that's the joy of coaching, isn't it? You can learn a lot from everybody. It doesn't matter what level you're at.
For sure. I mean, it's like I say, it's a cliche, but a good coach is a good thief, and they're always pinching ideas from other coaches.
I love that. That's definitely a well-used phrase on our training week.
And something else, I mean, you just alluded to it there, and sometimes people can view coaching as quite hierarchical, where you go up the levels, and as you go up the levels, you know more and you're a better coach. Sometimes that hierarchy can be flipped on its head, because there's no reason why someone who's a high-level coach can't learn something from a leader who's coming in and throwing some new ideas in a session. It's not always the leader who's learning from the coach, is it? It's a two-way process.
And that's it. And we always have fun discussions like this on the training week, and another discussion we have is always that split on whether you think a good coach has to have played the sport before or not played the sport before. I'm going to leave that one there and see what anybody thinks, if anyone wants to comment on Trev's Facebook post. Yeah, good discussion point there. I'll get a good thread on that, hopefully. But there's so much that you can get from each other, and that's again just about being adaptable, and can you give it, if you see something you like, can you give it a try in your session and trying to get it to work for you, no matter where it's come from. We have the joy of YouTube and coaching resources pretty much everywhere, and even if you find it in a book, it's definitely worth giving a try if you think it'll work. But always give it that sort of tweak to how you think it shouldn't or even could be done. Yeah, I mean, something that I helped contribute on some of the courses in the past, and what blew me away was the creativity from the leaders that come into the program, and when they're let loose to go and come up with new ideas for games and ways of doing things. It's an absolute melting pot of brilliant ideas. Some fantastic games, some fantastic new games, and as you said before, adaptations of old games, and they really get into that, and I think that's where a lot of the best learning takes place. It's not always about a tutor talking at you for an hour in a course, is it? It's about letting them loose, isn't it? Yeah. But like you say, not necessarily as far in the deep end as maybe I was or you were when you first started coaching. So yeah. Like you say, sometimes you do a level 1 course and it's like, okay, you've done a course, you know everything you need to know about coaching. You are on your own with a group of kids, and it can be quite challenging and daunting, can't it? Jump in and hope that you swim. Yes. So in terms of the programme now, I mean, is it still sponsored programme? Yeah, sure. Kindly sponsor the programme every year, and where they come down and they like to have pictures with all the leaders once they've completed their training, and they reward those leaders for the amount of volunteering that they do. So from September to April, they're rewarded for doing as many hours as they can, really, and it's almost like a competition between all of them, and we like to get them out involved in the community or with us on MSR, and give out like a first, second and third place reward for logging the most hours. And we usually get around about 20 young leaders, sports leaders every year, that compete. So in the last couple of years, it's gotten really, really competitive. I've had a couple in the past. I've had siblings in the last few years who have been different years apart, who have tried to beat, their brother or sisters, amount of hours they've done, or and then I've just had some years where one person has really, really smashed it out of the park, and just done loads of hours and been miles and miles and miles ahead. But again, it's finding those opportunities, and it's I suppose how deep in the pool you want to go. If you want to just jump in and volunteer out in the community with us on MSR, you want to do as much as you can, and you have the time to do it, great. If you don't have much time to do it, but you can still volunteer here and there, great. And we'll always try and find an opportunity for them to coach over that 10-month period.
So what would you say the benefits are for a young person coming and doing this programme are?
I think the big one is sort of organisation and communicational skills. Being able to write down a session, be able to plan a session, be able to deliver that session, making sure you've got all the right kit, you've got everybody organised, bibs, cones, and being able to communicate that is really, really important. I definitely think that over the last, 32, 14 years, 14 to 16 years, my communication skills have improved massively from coaching alone. And I think that's the sort of life skill, the big life skill that I think that a lot of these young coaches will get from it, that might translate into their personal lives or even into their careers, which is great. And this is a great stepping stone for those young people to maybe go, and after they've completed this and they're still in sort of sixth form at school, if they're going off to apply for universities and they've done a volunteer program, those universities will be like, wow, what a good student that you can volunteer and study at the same time and be involved in sport. Definitely, if somebody was doing that and want to come down here and apply for a casual coach job, I'd look very highly on that. So
I think they are. I mean, if you look at it, quite often doing coaching courses can look great on a CV, but an employer or a university really like to see that experience, that going out into the community and helping the people around you, because it's all very well going and doing a course, isn't it? But actually putting those skills into action is what counts. And those really good points there, Sam. So, have you got any sort of success stories? Are there lots of people who've come through that program and stuck with coaching, or moved into the organisation at MSR, or gone into coaching in clubs around the Isle of Man, or even further afield?
There's loads of. I think they're a bit more sort of closer to home with MSR. I know that originally when the program was run, there were a few of our current community coaches who have gone through that program. I think if I was to list off a couple, like Maxine Smalley, I think came through that program. Alice Henderson, even Andy Asbridge, who's still with us. The likes of Alex Jackson has been with us and signed on as a casual coach. I think he's now coaching out in America. He's done a lot of Camp America stuff. Liam Doyle was a casual coach with us. I don't know if he went through that program precisely though, but now obviously he's off in professional sport. Sean Jackson. Sean was a sports leader, and he's now
Sports Leader of the Year as well, didn't he?
Sports Leader of the Year, he did.
Sports Awards,
Which Shaw again sponsored that award at the Sports Awards. He's come through that program, and he's off amputee football for Manchester City, which is fantastic, and we get so many good coaches through it. Again, it's where they go in the end, sort of, who knows. I think that's where you get into the philosophy side of things, isn't it? When people start getting more experience and different opportunities to be involved in sport or coaching sport, they can go quite far.
The whole project it's bigger than sport, isn't it? It's about developing good people, isn't it? And good communities. Yeah,
and I think we have a fantastic community of coaches on the Isle of Man. I really, really, really do. I really believe that. And you can see with some of the stuff that's going on at the minute with Sporting Club Isle of Man being one of them. We've got sports development officers in different sports, and I'm sure they're all chomping at the bit to get back.
Yes.
And yeah, I just think it's really quite easy to go and have a chat about coaching with somebody, and yeah, I suppose thank you for inviting me to do the same.
No, I really appreciate you coming in. So what would, if someone's wanting to get involved with the skiing this year, is it too late or?
No, so I'm hopefully going to run the application process as long as I can, right up until the Sports Leaders Week. At the minute,
been a bit of a pain in that respect, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I mean, at one point I thought it was going to run, and then it wasn't going to run, and then it was, and restrictions were being lifted, and so yeah, it is going to run. If anybody, if any year 11s end up listening to this, or sort of this year's year 11s, next year's year 12s, our Sports Leaders Week takes place on the 20th. If you'd like an application, I'm sure Trev might put this on the Facebook post for me.
Can do, yeah, absolutely.
You can email me. It's sam.caine at gov.im. Caine is Caine. Or you can give my work phone a call and give us a call on 688 557. And from there, I will provide you a link to the information where you can read more about the program, so what's taking place. From the training week to the mentoring to the volunteering, it's all in there. And then if you want to, it's just a click away, and you can pay for it online and sign up for the program. The cost of the program is £150. It's quite a nice price to get into a coaching scheme. Some coaching qualifications are a little bit more than that, so it's definitely a good start.
And you get a whole week as well.
You get a whole week, yeah. And I've been on some course in the past, and you can get a level 1 and have it done in 2 days. And so we're really offering a lot of information and support on this program. So
Sam, is your program what do they come away with at the end of the program?
Hopefully a lot of hands-on experience, and they've had a lot of opportunities to sort of try and find out what works for them. They've dipped into having a session laid out, or if it's they want to improve on some communication skills. There's a wide range of things that could come out of this and benefit them, and it does lead them quite nicely into going in, if they want to go off into a sport and get another qualification. We'll definitely give them maybe a different sort of a different mindset on how different sports deliver their courses. I know from past experiences, I know that the likes of the FA deliver their courses differently to how badminton deliver, and that difference between a team sport and an individual sport. The courses differ in how those learners learn, and I'd definitely recommend anyone to do more than just their own course. And I'm definitely a big fan of the when kids are developing in sport, that multi-sport approach to try different sports rather than to sort of specialise in one. And I'd definitely say that to coaches as well. If you can dip into another course anywhere else, that's great. I know you were going to ask me about sort of personal stuff. I'm signed up to do my Talent ID level 2 in football soon.
Interesting.
And that's something I want to do with football. I'm a bit like a sponge in football. I just want as much information as I can get and sort of see where that takes me.
So Sam, you're a bit of a sports legend in your own right on the Isle of Man, I believe. You've competed at a good level in football. Can you give us a bit of information about your sport and journey as a player rather than a coach?
Yeah. So I can go all the way back if you want to 16 again.
Go for it, man.
So 16 to 19, I was playing at Union Mills Football Club, and I was quite fortunate to go straight into the first team there. And I suppose at that point I was thrown in the deep end again, thrown straight into a group of senior lads who I'd never known, never played with, and it was just kind of swimming at that. But I think I had that mindset that I wanted to succeed at it. And really, really, really pushed until the sort of season that I left, and then So personal circumstances changed. So I actually lived in Union Mills, then played for Union Mills, sort of, my local team, and then I moved to Glen Crutchley Road, and again right over the road from me was St George's, and jumped straight into there, and that whole journey for me changed again. So it was wanting to succeed up at Mills, and really did well, and won some trophies in Division 2 and the Paul Henry and the Woods Cup, and then I moved over the road to St George's, and it was the same thing. I was with this other group of players who were some of them Ireland players, and some of them really sort of Div 1 legends in their own right, and the same thing. I just had that mentality that I just wanted to fit in. I wanted to be as good as the best player on the pitch, and it took a while to fit in. It took a while to get through how they worked, because obviously I'd been used to one club and how they did things, and then trying to fit in at another club and how they did things, and the expectations, and sort of what they expect, and I think at that time at St George's, the biggest thing I took from it was just hard work, and I worked as hard as I could ever have done in the last sort of 10 years I was at St George's. And I think I got lucky one night with training. I think at one point, I think 9 or 10 of our team were invited under Kev Mannin and Steve Burns to be a part of that Ireland team, and there was only me and 2 other lads who missed out on the Ireland team. I didn't think I was anywhere near it at the time. And Chris Bass Senior had rang up Kev and said, we've got a big game at the weekend, and these 3 lads are going to be training on their own. Is there any chance you can just take them training for the night? And I remember going down, and I think I had a pretty good session. I worked my socks off, and Steve Burns came over to me at the end and said, me and Kev have had a chat, and we want you to sort of keep coming.
Fantastic.
And at that point, I was set with the same thing again, just wanting to stay and get in the team, and
serendipity and being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, a little bit, and
making the most of the opportunity.
Yeah, and like I say, hats off for Chris. A lot of managers I don't think would have done that and said, they'd have just sent the lads for a run or something. Yeah. But he's rang them up and said, look, these lads have got a big game. Can they go down? And yeah, just the same thing. And I got my debut at the Allagan Games in the Isle of Wight, which was great. I think it was the first or second game. I got sort of 15 minutes at the end, and it was the best 15 minutes of football I think at that time I'd had, and like just wanting to play at that level, and then it's just sort of carried on from there. And then, like say, being at St George's the last 10 years and winning what they've done is incredible.
So how many sort of trophies did you guys pick up during that sort of period? It was just St George's for a long time there, wasn't it?
Yeah. I was a part of 3 Grand Slam winning teams, which is incredible to win, all 4 trophies in a season.
Yeah.
I've 3 of them, and then in between those years there was a treble here, or I think there was one double, and it was just incredible. And you get asked the question, are you bored of winning? And I'm sure everybody who has been successful says no. Yeah, you don't.
Everyone else gets bored of you winning.
Everybody else gets bored of you winning. Yeah. And being a Liverpool fan, you hear that off a lot of people at the minute. So, but yeah, it's been fantastic. And the one thing I took from it was just the training in the week was what got us the weekend. The hard work at training was what got us the results at the weekend. And like you say, having some very good people around, like Chris Bass Senior and all the players there, like Chris Bass Junior and Johnny Myers and Sean Quays and Kieran McNulty's and Frank Jones being there, and like I've been very fortunate to play with some very, very good players, Jack McVeigh, Al Harrison, even Liam Doyle, Seamus Sharkey. I could list a million names, and I've just had like the best experience with football at St George's and with the Ireland teams and the different managers, and it's been nice to have my coaching head on while I'm watching them deliver as well as being a part of it and learning myself. So I think, like I say, I've learned a lot of sort of technical and tactical knowledge from them as they've been delivering it to me, which is, helped my coaching, I think, a lot.
Excellent. No, it sounds like an absolutely awesome experience you've had there, mate. Were you involved with the MIFA team as well at all?
The Ellan Vannin team, internationally, and we've been trips to Sweden and Hungary, and again, just like island trips are the best thing you can have, sort of nationally on the Isle of Man. To be a part of a team that goes across and competes. You're not playing the norm. You're not playing teams that players from in week in, week out, and we've been lucky with the national side to have like exhibition games against the likes of Leeds and Everton and like Derry City when they came over a couple of years ago. Like it's nice to know that the opportunity to play football at a high level on the Isle of Man is still getting higher. And I definitely want to keep playing as high a level as I can.
Excellent.
And keep pushing.
So how old are you now, Sam?
32.
How old was Ryan Giggs when he stopped playing?
I have no idea. Not a United fan.
You best get into your yoga, mate. I think that's what kept him going.
I think so. But no, I've had a recent change, and I've moved football clubs. I'm back to where I grew up, which is nice. And I suppose being a more experienced player in a lower division club has been an experience in itself. And I spent last year coaching because unfortunately I've had a long-lasting knee injury.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So I spent a lot of last year coaching, and hopefully I can play again this season. But I suppose one thing I'm grateful for is that void season.
A season that never was.
The season that never was. So technically I haven't missed the football season yet.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's really fantastic to hear your story there, Sam. Both as a coach and as a player. And hopefully the listeners have enjoyed that. And if you want to get involved with the Leaders Scheme, do give Sam a shout. I'll put his details in the notes as well with the recording, which will be on YouTube, and also on we'll be putting it onto our Manx Sport website as well in the coaching section there. So this will go on air. This will be our sort of June edition, so we'll get it out there, and please do share it amongst your friends, colleagues, and everywhere else, Sam, so we can get plenty of people tuning in to hear your story. And ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much for tuning in today. We're gonna close up there. Just to let you know, our next guest is going to be Olympian and two-time Commonwealth Games medalist Tim Neal. So fantastic. Hopefully between me saying that now and recording that with Tim, we don't have any mishaps, so we can get that in. So really excited for that episode. And please do share this amongst all your friends and people out there, guys. So we'll look forward to catching up with you on our next episode. Thank you very much, and thank you, Sam.
Thank you.